Hello, pedal steelers. Dave Hayes here from Glissando Pedal Steel Products. We are on the web at glissandopsproducts.com. You can see the spelling right there on your screen, two S's. And you've been hearing me talk about our Pedal Steel Chord Finder and Scale Reference tool a lot on SGN lately. And I wanted to take this time to show you what the program can do for your pedal steel learning and referencing. The product is available for E9, C6, and universal tunings. We handle up to 12 strings and up to 13 combination of pedal and knee lever changes. So pretty much any configuration of guitar out there can be used with this program. It is based on Microsoft Excel and does require that Microsoft Excel version either 2010, 2013, or 2016 be installed on your computer in order for it to work. Well, let's go now and see what this program can do for you as a learning and reference tool. There are two major modules to the program, the Chord Finder and the Scale Harmonizer. So let's talk about the Chord Finder first. When the program comes, it opens to this screen here. These menus don't open, aren't open when you get the product. They're available from up here on the menu by pressing these chord types, chord keys, and harmonizer buttons. But before I did that, I also want to point out that there is a help menu where how to use these programs and what I'm talking about now are documented so that you can go back and kind of look at what they are. And also there are some nice essential skills videos that are also included on the in the program. They do require internet access because they're really referencing some online videos that are out there, but they'll point you in the right direction. Okay, so that's the help menu. So let's now talk about the Chord Finder, one of the core components of the program. I'll close these now so you can see how everything works. So let's say that we wanted to figure out where you could play all the E major programs. You know what? Before we do that, let's talk about copedal setup. That's important. And that is setting up the guitar to be your guitar, so that all the changes, pedals and knee levers that are on your guitar are recognized by the program so that the chords and inversions that you're looking for are accurate for the way your guitar is set up. The program comes shipped with a standard Buddy Emmons setup, both E9 and C6. To change these is very, very simple. You can see that the strings are listed down the left-hand side, and the pedal and knee lever changes are listed at the top. I'd like to mention now that it is very easy to change what the pedal and knee levers say by clicking this button here, right here where it says copedal letter assignment. You click the Get Initials Value buttons. You change whatever you want them to be. If you wanted P1 to be pedal 1, for instance, you type pedal 1, write the initial value, and you can see right here that P1 changed to pedal 1. And that's what will be reflected on the chord neck view and scale harmony screens. So you can call it anything you want. Call it your Uncle Bob, whatever. Those will show on the screens. So the program is highly configurable and customizable to be accurate for your setup. Okay, so what you do then is you pick the string and the copedal change you want, and you put in a number like +1 or -1 for a half tone up or a half tone lower. You can see how it's set up right here. The B pedal, okay, pedal 2 raises the G sharps to A. So we go to the P2 change, the B pedal. We put in a +1. You can use the drop down or the keyboard. +1, +2, but we'll leave it at +1. And that makes the G sharps be an A on the computer. When you're done with that setup, okay, you save your initial changes and you also click this backup copedant. You only have to do that one time, because what that does is writes all the changes down to this backup section so that you can play around with any change you want. Let's say, for instance, you were messing around trying to figure out different copedants, what I call virtual guitar, to see what changes would be affected on the screens. You can do all that. Now let's say you had it so messed up that you could no longer see anything. And by the way, how you get rid of a change, let's put this pedal 1 back here, okay? If you want to get rid of that, just click in whichever box it is, hit the delete key on your keyboard, and it's gone. All right, but you don't want to have to set up your whole guitar again, so you merely hit the restore copedant button and everything comes back exactly as you had it for your default or default setup. So that's the copedant setup, documented under the help menu. And now you've got the guitar, the program set up for your guitar. Okay, so we can start looking for chords now. So let's say we wanted to play an E major chord. We start out by hitting the chord types button, and this will call up this menu here, okay? Where all of 17 chord types that are available in the program are listed. So once you click the major button, the program brings you to the chord neck view screen. And I'm gonna make that a little bit smaller so it'll show on this little laptop screen I have, okay? And you can see that this is actually a 14-inch, well, you can't see it. This is a 14-inch screen. When you have a big monitor like a 19, 20-inch monitor, it's great, but it's perfectly readable and legible on a small screen. Okay, so anyway, I click the major button, right? And I see that we last were on an A major chord, and that's what's shown. But we don't want that. We want an E major chord. So we hit the keys button right here, or I could get it from the menu, chord keys, and that calls up the key submenu. I usually position them like this so you can go back and forth between them. You see that each one has a button that calls the other chord types or keys. These screens are also, these submenus are also what we call modal, which means you can put them anywhere you want. If you have two monitors, they could actually be sitting over on the second monitor and not in your way at all. All right, so by clicking the E key then, the program changes to E major. Now let me take a few minutes to explain what you're seeing here. First off, the program tells you, hey, I'm displaying an E major chord right there. And it tells you the notes in the chord, which are E, G sharp, and B. Now it's important to stress that you do not need to learn where all the notes on your guitar are in order to use this program effectively. I show you the notes wherever they are located, because I know that as you use the program, your brain will see that note name, G sharp, and see where it's located, and your subconscious will imprint this information at the same time you're trying to consciously learn where they are, okay? But like I said, what the program tells you is to play an E major chord on the open fret. Here's the fret markers up here: 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, open the F fret. E, you know, open is E. 1 is F. 2 is F sharp. 3 is G, etc. It tells you that if you pick strings 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 10, those are your major grips, of course, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 6, 6, 8, and 10, you will have your E major chord. Now, this first column here, okay, is the open strings. And that's why you're seeing the notes in there, all right? And that's on your open fret. Now, in this space between the frets, that is where the pedal and knee lever changes show. So let's go over here to the first fret, okay, where the first change occurs. Now, on my guitar, in most Emmons setups, I have a pedal, or it's actually a knee lever. It's my E knee lever, my left knee moving right. You can see the copedal letter key down the bottom here to remind you what these letters are on your guitar. And that E lever raises my F sharp to a G. So on the first fret, it raises what is now an E, the open chord, to a G sharp, all right? I'm sorry, it's a G on the first fret. Your first string is a G on the first fret. If you hit your E knee lever, now you have a G sharp. That G sharp is part of the E major chord. It's the third. So it shows on the screen along with the open second string, which is now an E note, which is also part of the E major chord, so it shows. Now notice the color coding. The yellow is always the root of the chord. So wherever you see yellow on this screen, on the whole fret view screen, the chord neck view, is where an E note is located. And you can see the G sharps and the Bs. Now, if you don't want to see, let me back up a second. Now, notice that the open fret is coded in yellow, or purple rather, and the first string is coded in white. Where you see purple means that all of the chords for the triad you have selected are available. So you can play, as you can quickly see, you can find for this copedal an E major triad on the open, on the second fret, third fret, fifth fret, seventh fret, ninth fret, and 11th fret. Now, why is this valuable? I have the honor of corresponding with and learning a few things from a very famous and professional player. And he once told me that he tries to play as close to the 7th fret as he can. That's his sweet spot. He even tunes his guitar there at the 7th fret. So he wants to know and has to know that, hey, I can get an E chord on the 7th fret. Now that's, an E is a very simple chord. A major chord is a very simple chord. So we're simplifying things. But with this program, you can also find out that I can play a minor 6th, at the 8th fret. So now I can stay very close to that 7th fret. The idea is that by knowing where all of the inversions of your chords are, you can find one close to where you want to play, where you're trying to play, and it's a well-known fact that the less you have to move your left hand, the quicker and cleaner you can play, because you're not scooting all over the guitar fretboard to find these chords. And that's what this module tells you. It tells you every inversion of 17 types of chords anywhere they are located on the neck, accurate for your setup. And remember, where there's purple, all 3 of the notes for that chord are either yellow, orange, or green. If you have a chord that has a 4th note in it that gives you the voicing, like a major 7th, for instance, I've just clicked on the major 7th button. Now we have an E major 7th. That 4th note will show in red. And now the only frets that are purple are open, 2, 7, and 9, and you can easily see that that's where you can find that complete chord. If you don't want to look at the frets that don't have all of the notes you're looking for, you click the Hide Incomplete button and the screen will compress down so that you can just concentrate on where all of your notes are located. You can print these screens. They print just like you see them in full color and are a great handy reference tool if you're taking out to play somewhere or going somewhere to practice or just want to study them on your bus ride to work or whatever. So that is the Pedal Steel Chord Finder program in a nutshell. Now let's go on to the second major module that the program has, which is the Scale Harmonizer program. Okay, so let's go home and call up the Harmonizer program located up here on the menu. Okay. Now that brings up this screen. Very similar. You have all of your keys available, and you'll see that there are also buttons for 5 scale types: a major, the 3 minor scales, natural, melodic, and harmonic, and an augmented scale, which is not so common, but very useful for playing a lot of jazz and other kind of stuff like that. So let's start with a C major scale. All right, so we click C. The program brings you to the harmony screen, the harmonizer screen, and a major scale. And that's what we're looking at here. We're looking at a C major scale. All right. Now, notice that the information engine, the view of the fretboard is the same. We use the same information engine. You read it the same way. Open first, second. You've got your purple frets to identify where the notes are located. But the layout, what we're doing here, is a little different. Notice these buttons at the bottom. These are actually active buttons. If you click on one of these, it changes the screen. And what it shows you is that for a C major scale, the first scale degree, these are called degrees, okay? The first scale degree is a C major. That means that a C major chord is the first chord in a C major scale if you were playing all chords. The second chord, the second degree, is a D minor. Now the program tells you that the chord being demonstrated is a D minor, and these are the notes in a D minor: D, F, and A, and these are how to play them. So the idea is that you can pick out scales and harmonies by going through these degrees, all right, and learning how to play those chords and different notes on different frets to get your voicings and chords for that scale. You can run right up. The 5th scale degree is G major. The 6th scale degree is A minor, A, C, and E. That's where you can find them on your guitar. Remember, your guitar, not mine, yours. B diminished is the 7th scale degree in a C major chord, and back to a C major, which is the same as the root. Now let me show you this, and that's great. But to simplify things, if you go up here to the menu and click on 2-note harmony, I remove the 3rd triad from the chord, okay? To simplify things for not just beginning players and intermediate players, but we all play 2-note harmonies. All the great players do use 2-note harmonies a lot. It's what we do. Any player will play a 2-note harmony and a 3-note harmony, but a lot of 2-note harmony. So as you go through the scale degrees now, you see just the root note, the yellow note, and the first triad for that, okay? So you can easily practice your scales, just getting the first in only 2 notes. The program does work. It hides the incomplete modules, the incomplete frets on this module also, so that you can see just what you want to see. But this is a real handy setup. So go back to 3-note harmonies. You can learn all of the scales and all the chordings for a harmonized scale on your guitar. Let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at an E natural minor scale. Now notice that, and here's the chords for that, okay? In an E natural minor scale, the chords are E minor, F sharp diminished, G major, A minor, B minor, C major, D major, E minor. So a very good learning tool for those of you who don't know these off the top of your head. But notice that, again, because the fret is purple, that says I can get my E minor on the 3rd fret. And we all know that one. You pressure A pedal, bar on the 3rd fret. That gives you your E minor chord. Now, if I go to an F sharp diminished, now I know, okay, to play an F sharp diminished, it's F sharp, A, and C. And look at the 3rd fret. I can see that I can play that by playing strings 1 and 2 open, leave my B pedal down, and I've got an F sharp diminished. So that's the 2nd degree of my scale, also available on the 3rd fret. Now if I go, well, the 3rd fret is the G fret, so obviously I can play a G major there, and I can see that it's available on the 3rd fret. A minor. How do you play that? Well, that's strings 7, 6, and 5 with the B pedal and the A pedal down. That's an A minor chord, and there's several other variations of it on that 3rd fret. So now I'm on the 4th degree, and I haven't moved my bar yet. Okay, so let's go to the 5th degree. Can you play a B minor on the 3rd fret? You sure can. You drop your E, and you've got a B minor. Okay. There's only one left. The 6th or 7th scale degree. I'm sorry, I was on the 5th, wasn't I? The 6th one is C major. That's easy. 3rd fret, A and B pedals. There's your C chord. 7th degree, D major. Yes, you can play a D major on the 3rd fret also. And the program tells you how to do it. And back to your E minor. Now what the Glissando scale harmony neck has just told you was how to play an entire E natural minor harmonized scale without moving the bar. That is invaluable information when you want to know where things are and how to get your stuff. Now, what other way could this be used? Well, let's say you're trying to figure out a song that goes, let's say C major to A minor. Classic tunes, C, A minor, F, and G. There's 5,000 of them out there that have that chord progression. You can click on C major, okay, and learn the notes and scales that will fit in there. If you want, hit the 2-note harmony and say, okay, the band's playing C, I can play any of these string combinations, and they're going to fit in that scale. Because as you play these combinations, they're all part of the C major scale. Now you could say, okay, now the band is changing to A minor, so if I go over here and change to an A minor scale, okay, and go back to my notes, any of these note combinations are going to fit in with what the band is playing because they are all part of the A major scale. All of these notes, or the A natural minor scale. So you have a total reference guide to any chord, any scale, and how to play within that chord structure and figure out your harmonies. So that's our second module there, the scale harmonizer. again, I think this information is invaluable and a great learning tool. The program does come with two other tools. I don't call them modules, but they're pretty handy. They're kind of fun to play with. One is the Chord Detective, and I use this for if I'm playing around on my guitar and I play a couple, 3, 4 notes that sound good together, and I say, well, what is that? This module, this little tool, can tell you what it is. You can use the drop down here and pick them from there, or you can use your tab key and go between the boxes and plug in the chords. So let's say you plug in C, E, and G. The program will tell you that that's a C major chord. And let's say you throw a B into that, okay? Now you know that's a C major 7th. If you throw an F into that, that doesn't work for anything, okay? Let's try a B flat, okay? A sharp. That doesn't work either. All right, well, I guess there are no combinations there, and the program tells you that. If you put a B flat here, though, that will tell you that that's your C dominant 7th chord. And as you can go through here and actually just plug in different chord types or chord notes and see what might fit in and be a chord. Now this is interesting. See this, how I threw in that G sharp and found out that that's a G sharp major 7th with an added 5th. It's just a fun tool, a lot of reference there. You could do the same thing with notice that the program told you now you're in G sharp. That's the root of this chord. Anytime you see yellow, that's the root. And the last tool that we have available here is a complete scale reference display where you pick any key you want and any of, I think there's 41 scale types in here, 38, 40, something like that. So if you want a D diminished scale, you pick that, click Get Scale, and there's all your notes for that scale. If you want to know how to play a Phrygian scale, that's a Greek scale, by the way. Not a lot of use for it in country music, but, you know, I don't know what you're doing. There it is. So, you know, you want your Phrygian dominant scale, there it is. That adds the F sharp to that scale. You want a plain old natural minor, well, fine, you can have that too and get your notes for that. A very handy reference tool. It's fun, actually. I sometimes just pick different scale types and play the notes to that scale and hear it. And you can hear it. You pick an Asian scale or an Arabian scale, and you can hear that music's influence in the notes in those scales. So that's the product. You know, I feel it has a lot of value, a lot of value for the money, a lot of reference there. Again, available on the web at Glissando pedalsteelproducts.com. Handles up to 13 co-pedal changes and 12 strings, so it is available for C6th and B9th universal tunings, B6th universal tunings, whatever you might use. You can check it out on the web. You can order from that site. There's a form there. You have other questions, you can email me. I'd be glad to answer them. Thank you for your time, and hope to see you soon. Remember, know your notes, your scales, your chords. Practice hard, play well, and above all, enjoy the pedal steel. It's just a remarkable and magnificent instrument. Thank you again.